This episode of RetroBlasting is brought to you by Yojo Outlet and Museum Center. They know vintage toys, and when it comes to vintage toys, knowing is the entire battle.
The AK Centerfire.
The look, the feel, the sound, so real. Entertech.
I was rooting around in the RetroBlasting storage unit, and I found two childhood relics. These are two Entertech Centerfires. They are automatic water guns that I had when I was a kid. Obviously, I still have them. Now, one of them is very incomplete, and another one is very complete, but it's not working great. And so what I thought I would do is see if I could get one of these working again. And then depending on its condition, like this one has a broken battery cover that I might be able to swap out with this one. Yep, this one has corrosion on it. Typical, one has parts that are intact in one way but broken in another. So what I thought I would do is take these two guns apart and see if I can get one working example out of them. Tall order, but we'll see if we can do it. So the first step will be to get to this unbroken door, which will be good because who knows, maybe this one ends up being the body we use. I'm not really sure, but we'll start by taking this one apart. So I'll set this one to the side. All right. These were innovative water guns at the time, but they quickly fell out of favor because of the whole laser tag problem where kids were getting killed by allegedly getting shot by police officers because they were using laser tag guns outside and police didn't realize they were real guns. And these screws are really on there. I think I need some more leverage. There we go. I'm not looking forward to this because I've got a ton of screws to take out. Just looking at this, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those are the ones I can see. You know what? I'm going to get a larger screwdriver. Hey, there we go. You can never have too many screwdrivers. This was the transitional model of Entertech. This was after the initial reports of kids running around with realistic looking guns. And so the original Entertech range, of which the Centerfire was a part, they did not have orange tips on the guns. And by the time I got to the toy store, they were selling them with orange tips. And then quickly after that, the company just abandoned the black color altogether and made them psychedelic covers. So they ended up they gave them psychedelic colored plastic. So they ended up looking like Super Soakers, which weren't even out yet. Super Soakers happened in the early 90s after I had left the United States. I wasn't even aware of what a Super Soaker was And I got back and they were all the rage. And by that point I was in high school and I wasn't really getting into water gun fights anymore. The Entertech range, though, was really, I thought it was a really neat line. It was, you know, at the height of the whole Rambo craze and G.I. Joe and all that stuff. And, you know, my brother, he had the Entertech M16 with a really, really huge water container on it that went into the magazine thing. You can actually see the M16 Entertech water gun on an episode of Night Court, oddly enough, from, I want to say, season 3. Harry Stone and his kid friend Leon are running through the cafeteria at the courthouse with a pair of the Entertech M16 water gun rifles. It's funny to see 80s toys pop up in 80s television shows, and it makes sense that it would. I mean, it's not completely out of the question. Okay, now I'm hoping that this thing isn't glued together. And it already feels like it is. Did I miss a screw? God, I hope I... This is the moment where you hope you missed a screw. The trigger guard area that's not coming apart, and I just wonder I'd much rather pop the glue seal apart on its own than just break it outright. Okay, that worked. Ah, there we go. I used a car trim puller to just coax it to pop apart. I have a whole set of these as well in my toolkit. They're very handy because they're not metal, and so they can coax plastic to do what you want without breaking it. All right, so now we're inside the Entertech Centerfire. And if any of you have watched any of my restorations in the past, you'll recognize a few key parts. So right here, of course, we have, get it up here, we have the motor, which looks very similar to the motors that you would see in a Kenner Star Wars vehicle. We have a trigger, and that trigger puts two pieces of metal together to make a contact. So that is our crucial battery contact point right there. And then you can see the lovely corrosion that we have here in the battery compartment itself. The question is, do we continue to work with this one, or do we go ahead and disassemble this one and give it the intact battery door? The only thing that would preclude me from doing that is it seems like the locking mechanism itself for this is a little weak. However, that may just be, it does seem really loose compared to this one. All right, you know what? We're just going to take them both apart and see where we get. Get it to pop apart. And there we go. I looked at the one that I just took apart, and there seems to be slight damage to the battery door compartment hinge point on this one. So it might make the most sense to go ahead and use this one, although this one is admittedly really gross and will need a cleaning. It looks like I put tape on it or something at some point in the past, and boy, it really marred it up. Although this one's really scuffed up. I wonder if this amount of damage on the hinge point would make a difference. Yeah, it probably would, because it would be pinching down on that hinge because it's smashed. So it looks like the smartest thing to do is going to be to use this one and then wash it up, even though it's cosmetically not as nice as this one, which is a real shame. But the point isn't to make it cosmetically nice. The point is to make it work. So in that respect, I'll try not to be too persnickety about this process. Now you might be saying, Michael, why are you using that emery cloth and you could just dip it in vinegar? Well, it's because this toy is my childhood one and it's not in good shape anyway. I just want it to work. I don't really care about it being cosmetically perfect. It is mine, and it has been mine since I was a kid, and I'm really just wanting to get a result sooner rather than later. Some people might call that sacrilege. I just call it expediency. If I want to, at some point, I can repolish these and make them look pretty, but not right now. Now I just want to see if I can get them to make contact with batteries. So this piece right here controls the motor that then spits the water, pumps it, and shoots it automatically. But I can't get the motor itself to fire. We are now going to take the firing mechanism, the pump, out of this gun and see if I can get to the other side of the motor and possibly hand spin it. Okay, that tube mechanism is out. Great, so there's really no way. This is the best I can do. Hand spinning this thing is just spinning it on this very complex gear mechanism. Don't want to break any of these solders either, because that's just going to cause more headaches for me once I feel like I've spun it enough and I can put it back in the... Alright, we've hand spun this motor. We've got our batteries. We've got our cleaned off contacts. I'll even give this another dusting up real quick just to make sure it's not a contact problem. I still say that's negative. Oh, come on! I've cleaned the contacts again, I've spun the motor again, I've taken everything apart again, I've put everything back together again. If it doesn't work this time, then I don't know what to do. So, alright. I'm even making sure this time that the battery door is completely closed, just in case that's a factor. Because it seems like the tolerances on this battery compartment are so tight, it's ridiculous. Holy cow, thank God. Okay, so the learning here is make sure the battery compartment is truly and completely closed all the way. Ooh, that didn't sound good. It's always something, isn't it? Really? That may be as good as we get it on this go around. This is a very strange, complex little toy. Alright, so we've got our Entertech Centerfire. We're gonna see if it works. Ready? Ah, there it goes! Doesn't really have a lot of punch, does it? But back then, in the 80s, this was awesome. But like I said, it's not working as perfectly as it did when I was a kid. Or maybe I remember it differently. Although, I feel like it's leaking a little bit. Anyway, that's 80s automatic water gun technology.